Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I just want to make the point that I recorded this podcast or pre recorded this podcast before I had found out about the latest developments on BAM, which I will go on to talk about. Um, I will say this, I think it was the right thing that she is no longer here. And I also will say that she does have another channel. So who knows if she will use that channel to continue what she had started. This Thanksgiving, I'm making duck breasts, mashed potatoes, and gravy. I'm going to leave the turkey or whatever big bird, which is probably not going to be a whole turkey, even if I do make a turkey. But I'm going to leave the big bird for Christmas. I just want to have a very simple, laid back, stripped down Thanksgiving with duck breast and some nice sauce and some mashed potatoes and gravy. And I've had my mum here over the weekend. We've been watching The Crown, Diana's Last Days, and listening to music and having a lot of fun. I put my Christmas tree up. I do want to start this by saying that, yes, I found out what happened with BAM over the weekend, and I think it's absolutely the right thing. It's a great way to start the Thanksgiving holiday season to hear that BAM is no longer around. I found her to be a very controlling person. Probably even I would go as far as say she's quite possessive. And she likes to control people. And one of the ways that she does do that is by making you feel special. She does have a technique of making people feel special, being nice to them, particularly at the very beginning, and reeling people in. So in turn, it makes people want to feel that they have to be loyal to her. And it's a strategy that she uses to get her supply. She's all about supply. That's what she's about. How she can use you to benefit and gain for herself. There's one other person on YouTube that I've met who's like that, and I'll talk about that another time. So BAM, basically, her subs were her supply sources. They gave her food, they paid, they donated to her, they gave her cat litter. So they were very important to her, and that's why she wanted their loyalty, because loyalty brings gifts, loyalty brings money and donations, loyalty brings food for her animals. And someone said to me, I'm going to be linked with BAM forever. The truth of the matter is, I wasn't friends with BAM for as long as people like Wiccan, Kiss, or Sheila were. I came around very, very late in the game, and I left long before these people did. As far as I'm concerned, there were signs. There were signs that she was going down the wrong path. And I made the decision not to go back to her channel again because I found her to be quite controlling. In actual fact, I'm not going to deny this. I am not going to deny this. I still feel the same way I do about Claire Morgan. I agree with BAM on a lot of things when she talks about, Frankie and his request for donations and how he's operated on YouTube. But I never shared the disdain that she had for the Rusex. I do not dislike Frankie to that level that she does. I just don't. And I want to wish the Rusex a happy Thanksgiving. I know I'm not their favourite person because I was so vocal on the Claire Morgan stuff and the crowd justice. But my intent was never to be insightful or to be, I just don't have that disdain in my heart for the Rusex that BAM does. She took it too far and she wanted to control people. And like I said, people are supply sources for BAM. And I found her disdain for the Rusex to be quite troubling. So I never wanted, that was one of the reasons why I decided not to go back to her channel. I also didn't like how she used Shanann to get to them. I didn't like that. I don't like how she talked about Shanann and the girls, and it's not necessarily her opinion that bothered me, but it's the way she presented her opinions that I didn't like. And look, I'm not perfect. I was associated with her. I take full responsibility for my association with her. I'm not all sweet and innocent in all of this, and I'm not an angel by any stretch of the imagination. But it did become apparent to me at a certain point that I had to pull away, because it was very obvious to me that there was something wrong with her, and that she had a lot of issues. And I don't know how her subs, who are welcome on my channel, you're welcomed here and you're welcome to interact with me. None of us are perfect. We all have flaws, and we all have to take responsibility for our associations with her. But in my opinion, by the time it got to the point where she kept on repeating that Emma Kenny was trying to take her content, where she was saying these things about Shanann and the girls, and the way she went after MRB was particularly unfair, in my opinion, to put it mildly. I'm not a fan of MRB, but I don't think that MRB, the Rusex, all the Rusex deserved what Bam was dishing out to them. Like I said, Bam uses people as supply sources, and that's all she's about. How she can get supply from you, how she can get fuel from you. You know, if she thinks you're going to give her money, donations, gifts, she'll be really nice to you, and she'll make sure people in her live stream are nice to you. It's all about getting supply. Um, I have to say, I was close to her for a short period of time, not as long as Wiccan and Sheila were. So I still have some attachment to her. I'm going to be honest with you. I still do. But, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and just say that I did record this podcast before I found out the latest developments. I just wanted to say that a lot of people who were in Bam's channel were there long before I was, and were there long after I left. So they were there before and after, and they had longer friendships with Bam, known her for a lot longer, and were more codependent on her than I was, because as time went on, I found that one of her techniques, and it's a love bombing technique, was to develop codependent relationships with her subs, i.e., she sits there acting as if she has their back, and as long as they act according to her rules and her standards. And that was one of her very clever techniques. I've got your back, Sheila. And then Sheila would go out and do her bidding and speak up for her and defend her. And she wasn't the only one, but that's the type of you do for me, I do for you. Giver and taker type relationships is what she developed with her subs. And that was one of her strategies to control her subs. And I said to you that there was a time when I saw somebody live streaming, and I was talking to Bam at that time, and Bam didn't like that this person was live streaming. And now I'm absolutely 100% certain that one of the reasons why she didn't like this person live streaming, even though they were talking about the Claire Morgan situation and saying everything that she does and substantiating her points even, she didn't like the fact that her subs were in that live stream, because her subs were supply sources for her. When you realize certain things, and there's a great thing that Amber said on my channel, Amber who had that thing with Bam, Amber's daughter, what Bam said about Amber's daughter. There's a great thing that Amber said when she came to my channel the other day, is that you have to find out who somebody is in your own time. But I knew who she was. I just didn't know the full dynamics and the clockwork of how she operates. But before I started speaking to her, I had heard about her prior. So I've got no excuse. What I can say is that there did come a time when I thought, I'm not going back to her channel. So it's not like I found out that she was doing stuff or saying stuff about me and then I suddenly stopped going to her channel, or I suddenly decided not to. There came a time when I stopped going to her channel. And like I said, it was after she'd written me that email where she'd asked me to remove stuff. And I realized that this is a pattern, another pattern that she has to control people, is asking them to remove things from their channel. She did it with EK, apparently. She did it with Amber when she asked Amber to remove that comment. And she did it with me. And by the way, all of BAM's subs and supporters are welcome to come to my channel. They're welcome to listen, they're welcome to watch, and they're welcome to interact. This is a very laid-back, informal channel. And I don't want anyone taking my words out of context, which is what I find often happens. I'm not the baddie here. I'm just giving you my opinion. Basically, what BAM had left in her channel, the people that were left in BAM's channel after I'd gone, are the people that had been with her since even before I knew who she was. And before I started speaking to her, they were the people that were left. Her enablers, who didn't realize that they were probably enabling her because they were so much under her spell. And that is what people like her do. Superior people who feel superior, narcissistic people, they have enablers. And these people don't challenge them, don't second guess them, trust them, support them, seek validation from somebody like her. Because, you know, she is basically somebody who seeks external validation by using others as tools and forms of supply. So the people that she had left in her channel were her devotees, her enablers, and people who didn't challenge her on anything. And I'm not necessarily saying everybody agreed with her. And that's not what I'm saying. You know, some people have said that, you know, we support her, but we don't necessarily agree with everything she said. But there are people who would not let that be known. The people that she had left back in her channel after I'd gone were really her devoted people. So if I posted something or published a podcast, for example, one of her subs might say, look at this. Look what she's saying here. Look what she's saying, as Sheila did. And, you know, I would be made out to be something that I'm not. Because what people like BAM will do is, if she can't control you, what she will do is she will try and control how people think of you and how people perceive you. This is what she did with Fingal or Ali. And I don't know the full extent of that situation. I know something about it, but I don't know everything. And, you know, I'm not perfect and I'm human and I'm going to make mistakes. And, you know, I'm just telling you what is in my heart, what is in my mind, what is in my soul, what I feel that I've observed. I'm not completely innocent. I take full responsibility for my association with BAM because I did know what she was like before I started speaking to her. I just didn't know the ins and outs of how she operates. I didn't necessarily think, look, let me just tell you something before I continue. Not everybody that I've loved or love is perfect, is faultless. So, for example, I loved my grandmother dearly, and I would do anything to spend one more day with my grandma. Anything. But she had many flaws, and one of her flaws was that she was entitled. If she wanted something, if she wanted a chandelier, she would expect to get it the next day. That's what she was like. She was a very entitled woman. So I've lived my life basically not necessarily befriending people who I think are perfect, because one of the things that I can tell you is that I'm not perfect. So I can't always expect other people to be. So when I'm looking for a friendship, or when I seek somebody, you know, when I contact somebody or make a connection with somebody, I may be well aware that they have certain flaws, but I'm not necessarily going to hold it against that person. So I was well aware of what Bam was like on the surface before made a connection with her. And I completely take responsibility for that. I knew what she was like on the surface. I knew she had certain personality traits. However, until I got to know her for myself, I didn't know the intricacies of her personality. And now I'm fully aware of the intricacies of her personality. And when it got to a point where I believed that she was escalating, and I believe that she started to escalate when she wrote me that email, when she said, I want you to remove this, and that from your channel. I believe that at that time she had gotten to the point where her NPD was just so extreme. You know, she was constantly sitting on her high horse talking about how gorgeous she is, talking about how she was going to get a perfume in her scent, talking about Emma Kenny trying to take stuff from her channel. When you start talking like that, and then the constant, I'm a former model, Hefner references, when you start talking like that on a consistent basis, and you become so delusional and so full of yourself, then you're escalating. And what I'm saying here is that, yes, I knew what she was like, but you know what I also knew? I also knew when it was time to leave, when it had gotten to the point where it was obvious that something was very, very wrong. And what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to lecture anyone here, I'm just saying what I really think, and I'm just being honest. What I'm saying is, I was there long after. I wasn't there as, I wasn't, I had befriended her long after she'd already established a lot of her friends and a lot of her supply sources. And I left long before these other people who recently found out what she's been saying about them left. So what I'm saying is that there came a point when I realized that it was time to go. How is it that they sat on her channel, saw her talking the way she did about Shanann and the children? Then you've got the prior thing where she was saying those things to Amber's daughter. Then you've got her constantly pushing her PayPal in people's faces, but then saying that she doesn't have any money. How could people sit on her panel or her channel night after night, week in, week out, and not realize that there was an issue with this woman? That's what I'm saying. Did you not notice that things were getting out of hand and out of control? Are you really surprised after hearing all the clips of her ranting and raving and saying what she does? Are you really surprised that she said those things about you? Based upon all that I've seen over the last few months, particularly over the last few months, I'm neither shocked or surprised. Didn't you realize, especially when it got to the Natasha Cooper thing, didn't you realize that something was off? At least by the time it got to, oh, I'm going to contact the press and I want credit for contacting the press and those paywall photos and rah, rah, rah. And then all of a sudden, Natasha said something nice about her, and Natasha was welcomed into her channel with open arms. Didn't you at least think at that point, hey, there's something going on with this woman? How can she be so duplicitous? How can there be such a double standard? And I'm saying this as a discussion format, a very informal discussion format. And it's very interesting, this all coincides with that channel, and it coincides with her talking about the Sin situation. And Sheila came to my channel and said, you shouldn't talk about Sin, this is Bam's thing. And Sheila even said in her latest live stream, she defended Bam every single time. And she didn't realize that she was an enabler of Bam's. She didn't realize it. Because Bam was so good at having people on her string.
You're loyal to me, you take care of me, you do for me, and I'll do for you. But really, all the while she was doing for herself. At least she's admitted what she is. She told you all. It's not like you didn't know. Can you really be that surprised? I mean, how many people can you be that upset with week in, week out? Did that not click after a while that, hey, there's always somebody that she has a problem with? We all can have issues with each other, but we deal with it in a mature manner. I don't like Tosha. We're not friends anymore, but I don't get up on my channel day in, day out talking about her and ranting about her. And I think she's probably a very good mother to her children. You would never find me calling her up or saying stuff about in a live stream like what Bama said about Amber and Amber's daughter. That's not my. That's not. I don't indulge in that type of behavior. I've got more class. So, can you really, really be that surprised? And this is a discussion. This is, you can have a different opinion. I'm really not surprised of what we found out. I really am not. By the time it got to the Natasha Cooper is so wonderful, Natasha Cooper is so great, welcome her with open arms. By the time it got there, certainly didn't you start thinking, there's something funny with this woman. There's something going on here. Wasn't she saying this a few weeks ago? And now she's saying this? What might she be saying behind our backs if she can be so duplicitous? Didn't it not register that something was off? You're entitled to have your opinions. This is an informal channel. This is a sit-down channel. This is where we have casual conversations and discussions about things. But I'm just saying, are you really that surprised?